morning, CSA.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is my honor and my pleasure to be here today. And I want you to know that this is a moment that has been 7 years in the making. And I say 7 years, not because that's how long I was in ministry school, but because around 7 years ago, Christy and I were on a journey together. And so God knows. God knows. So it is so wonderful to come out as a minister and to share this day with Christy. So this morning, the spiritual principle that I will speak to you about is that we believe in the control of conditions through the power of the mind. And when I say mind, I mean universal mind, divine mind, the law of God. The law, it works for everyone, and it's always there unfolding for your highest and best good. So it's a little bit like Gabby Bernstein tells us, the universe has got your back. And we are children of the universe. We are no less than the trees and the stars, and we have a right to be here. And whether or not it's clear to you, the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. So today it's a little bit of back to basics. We're going to look at how the inner and outer world, how your inner and outer thoughts, how your beliefs and behaviors impact the actions and your life. I'm going to look a little bit about conscious agreements that you've made and maybe some not so conscious agreements that you've made. And I'll sum it all up with 3 ways in bringing the conscious awareness and bringing the connection that you have to the divine into your conscious awareness. So today's talk is called Magic, Miracles, and Mind. And let's start where it all starts, and that is in divine mind, which is also known as law. So a quick review of how the divine mind works, how law works. An individual makes a thought, you take an impression, that impression happens in the law acts upon it, and our thoughts create how we experience the world. So luckily, divine mind doesn't respond to each random thought that you have. So if you have a negative or bad thought, and you've heard this before from my mentor, if you have a negative or bad thought, you just put that out of the way and you focus on what it is you want. You place your attention on the feelings. So if it's a job you want, you're like, how would it feel to be in that job? If it's more money you want, how would it feel, do you think, to have more money? A relationship, how would that feel? Things. You know, we're taught that thoughts become things. And we learn that. And it's the I want to say it's the first level of understanding about the law. It's like your first level. And it may be how some of you found out about this community. You may have been drawn to this community because you had an experience in the law, or you had experience with the law working well in your life, and you thought, I want more of this. But as we walk our walk in this faith, we learn and we understand a little bit like Eric Butterworth tells us in his book, In the Flow. We learn that thought itself, it does not create. What it does is it places us consciously in the flow, or either it frustrates the flow. You see, you can't make divine law work for you because you're always in the flow. Just like we are always in gravity, and gravity is always in us. So what we're going to learn a little bit today is just how to get out of the way and let the flow happen in your life. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see the miraculous, unfold in your life, then you don't focus on things. You focus on God qualities. You want more friendship in your life? Focus on love. You want beauty in your life, focus on beauty, harmony, order, peace. And when you focus on those things, your life unfolds in the most miraculous ways. We keep our thoughts on the upper room. We keep our eyes on the prize until we don't. Until we don't. So I call this season that we're in right now, I call it the pandemic pause. And I don't know about you all, but my mind has been moving, racing sometimes. It goes between past and present and future. And my imagination has made 1,000,000 different stories, 1,000 different endings to all of those stories. So during this time, I'm not thinking about how I'm manifesting things. I'm thinking about order. I'm thinking about peace. I'm thinking about harmony. That's what I wanted when I was in shelter. I wanted order in my house. Don't judge. Okay? And so I feel as though we can feel it, right? We're getting ready to emerge out into the world. We don't know what it is we're really emerging out into. We don't know what this new reality is going to be. I personally feel like a bear coming out of hibernation, you know? I feel like there's some things I need to shake off, and then there's some things that I need to keep. And there were some gifts from this shelter-in-place time. And some of those gifts revolve around some observations that I've made. Now, even though I was mostly alone during shelter-in-place, this community right here, I never felt like I was alone. I never felt like I was alone. We had 21-day racial healing. We had calls at noon. We got calls after church. We have book clubs going on. It is absolutely amazing, all of the things. So you didn't have to feel alone. But during this time and we have classes too. I mean, like everything is going on. Church is happening. Learning is happening. Growth is happening. But during this time, I overheard someone in our community speak about the law in action. And this thought became something I wanted to expand on. It became something I wanted to continue to explore a little more. So I heard people discussing the law in action as if, comparing it to magic. So now I'll give you an example. When you think of someone and they call you, magic. When you say you're going to get that parking spot and you get it, it's law in action. You're in the flow. And synchronicity is happening all around you. You feel a sense of oneness. Everything is right in the world. That is divine mind in action. It's not magic. Now, it may feel magical, but it's not magic. Not magic in the traditional sense or the traditional definition of what magic is, because inherent in the definition of magic is some type of trickery, some type of deception. Also, Harry Houdini, who's one of our great magicians of all time, he said magic is created through an illusion. And an illusion is called magic because it is unexplainable. So magic is smoke and mirrors. It makes the unreal appear real. Now, in contrast, we can explain the aspects of divine mind. I can help you replicate things in your life, and it works for everyone, and there is no trickery in it. So, some people have called law in action magic, and some people have called me bruja, because they have seen the law in action work in my life, and that means witch in Spanish. And some people have called this whole study of science of mind wicked. Some people. So now on a side note, that brings up some really good feelings for me. Reminds me of one of my favorite Broadway plays. Something inside has changed me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Okay, all right. See, no, see, you know theater, right? You thought I was going to go high, right? No, we are not defying gravity today. We leave that to the professionals. This pandemic pause, it's made me really appreciate my love of live theater. It's made me appreciate the magic of it. But the law, divine mind in action, feels magical, but it's not magic. Now I'm going to tell you what magic is. It's watching Penn and Teller's show, Fool Us. Has anyone seen Penn and Teller's show, Fool Us? It's all about magic. So the most gifted magicians from all around the world try to trick Penn and Teller. And Penn and Teller try to guess how they do the illusions, how they create the illusions that they create. And if they can trick Penn and Teller, and they don't guess, they get a spot on their show, Penn and Teller's show. They get a spot on Penn and Teller's show. But they also get this really huge trophy with just the initials of the show on it. And the show is called Fool Us. Anyway, I had the opportunity to take a photograph with Penn. And he held it. He's really tall. He's kind of handsome. I snuggled up to him. We took the selfie pose. Oh, y'all know I'm cute. But the photograph that I took with Penn still haunts me to this day. And magic, well, magic, it intrigues me. So I began to think about, when I was watching that show, I thought, well, what are the agreements, the conscious agreements that we might enter into? And that's really actually what Fool Us brought up for me as I was watching this. And so here's an example. So in magic, when we go to a magic show, when we go to a theater, we suspend everything that we believe to be true. And we also, we pay to be awed and we pay to be amazed. And the magicians are in this contract. It's a contract, right? And they propose to do the best illusions that they can. And the most important part of this is that it's conscious. It's going both ways. But I would like to propose that there are some agreements that we enter into that are not so conscious. Maybe you hear that you're too old for something, or maybe you think you come from the wrong side of the tracks. Maybe there's some story that you're taking on about yourself that does not push you towards the best and the highest of who you can be. Now, Penn and Teller had me thinking about what are conscious agreements, and I don't watch much TV, but I did watch this documentary called The Social Dilemma. And that got me thinking about, well, what agreements are we into that is not so conscious? So The Social Dilemma, for those of you who don't know, it's a documentary, and it says that we enter, anytime that we go online, anytime that we're online and we're using social media, we enter into agreements to have our behavior and interactions tracked, and that there is some software that predicts the behavior, and it tries to, that predicts your behavior, and then it tries to influence your behavior, both online and out in the world. In addition to that, this particular predictive software gives back to you, reflects back to you, only the world in which it's watching all your behavior, so it only reflects back to you the world in which and how you see the world. So it's giving you back how you see the world. But here's the thing. You are not even aware that this is being done. That's what this film proposes. So Sir Arthur C. Clarke, a science fiction writer and inventor, he said, Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And the documentarian, the guy who made it, Tristan Harris, he warns us to keep in check the reality that's presented to us by social media. He says that social media gives us our own Truman Show. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Truman Show. It's where Jim Carrey was the first product of a corporation, and he is filmed from birth with these little cameras, hidden cameras everywhere. And his whole life is built on a soundstage. Everyone in his life is actors, and the most important part of this is his entire life is controlled by outside forces. So a pivotal scene happens in this film. The interviewer asked the creator of the show this question. He said, "Why do you think Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world?" And the guy who created the show said, "Because we accept the reality of the world with which we are presented. We accept the reality of the world with which we are presented." So it just got me to thinking, if you and I, if we trust our five senses alone, if we trust only what we see on television or social media, if we buy into those stories that have been told to us about who we are and what we can do, then do we really understand the true nature of the world that we live in? You see, the outside world can influence your thoughts, and they can influence your behaviors. And have you ever thought about those agreements that you enter into consciously, or I'm going to say not so consciously? But here it is. Our golden ticket, our first miracle, is our biggest power, is the power of choice. You know what? We can choose to sing along with the radio, or we can yell at the TV. We can create a life of unease, or we can create a life that is lived in calm confidence. Wayne Dyer once said that you can't control what happens in the outside world, but you can always control the inner world. And Eric Butterworth said that when you know that life is lived from within out, then no matter what happens around you, you can maintain your connection to divine flow, to divine mind, and you can overcome the world. I got one more, and that is Ernest Holmes. And he says in How to Change Your Life, he says, watch your mental atmosphere. Mind responds to mind, and it is done to you as you believe. So what are we believing about the world? How do we see the truth with a capital T? And how do we get to those miracles that we so desperately need? I only know one sure way to get to the miracle, and that is trust. That is trusting in your inner voice, trusting in your inner guidance, trusting in that which comes to you sometimes in the stillness, and sometimes an insight comes to you in a flash. Now, when I was thinking about this talk, magic, miracles, mind, I stumbled upon one of Wayne Dyer's old books back in 1992. And the name of that book was Real Magic. So he juxtapositioned the word real with magic, because what is real is truly not magic, and what is magic is certainly not real. But I say that he's trying to help us bust out and break that limited thinking about that poor little term magic. It might, get a bad rap. So he wants to break out of that. And this book speaks about all the spiritual principles and the laws that govern our life and how we can change our life. And it's called Real Magic. But guess what? He uses that word real magic interchangeably with the word miracle. And the miracle is how we engage our mind. And the miracle is that the universe is never against us. The miracle is all we need to do is to bring into our conscious awareness the presence. So the first spiritual practice that I'd like to share with you in order to increase your awareness of the presence that is always there so that you can get more God stuff in your life and as your life. That first practice is simply just to shift your perception, to shift your perspective. And Marianne Williamson says a shift in perspective, and so does the Course in Miracles. That's actually how they define what a miracle is. It's a shift in perspective. So if you're feeling uneasy or about something or anxious about something, shift, it's like, I don't know if you guys do the puzzle on the table. Sometimes the puzzle is this way, but to find which piece, you got to kind of look at it from that angle. Shift your perspective. For me, I was a little uneasy about coronavirus back in the beginning of the pandemic pause. And I have a cousin who lives in Washington, D.C. She sent me the most horrendous film, YouTube, about the 1918 flu pandemic. Now, I'm in no way saying the coronavirus and the flu are synonymous. But what I am saying is during 1918, they closed the schools, they closed the churches, they closed everything. They had to wear masks and they had to social distance. Watching this was like watching a train wreck. There were so many deaths. There weren't places to put people. Whew. So I'm not exactly sure what my cousin's intention was for sending me that video. But actually what happened was it gave me a sense of peace because it's a mental equivalent. It's a mental equivalent. We've been here. I thought, hey, we got this. We know what to do. We can handle this. We've been here before. Not only that, in the greater outside world, guess what? My favorite man in the world, Fenwick Holmes and Ernest, y'all better leave me alone. Y'all gonna learn a lot about Fenwick. Anyway, Fenwick and Ernest, they lived through this, and they treated people, and they reminded people that when you're in a sense of wholeness, that there is no separation between you and God. God is working through you. And Eric Butterworth says, when the mind is stayed on God's stuff of wholeness, that we are synchronized with the flow of life. So shift your perspective. Shift your perspective. The second spiritual practice I want to share with you, it's as old as the ages. And it is a conscious strengthening of your understanding of the presence, okay? And you can do it whether you're sitting, you can do it whether you're walking, you do it whether you're drawing. And right now, I think the person who's most closely associated with this practice is Deepak Chopra. So you ask Deepak Chopra, what are the problems of the world? How do we solve the problems of the world? You know what Deepak was going to say? Meditate. You ask Deepak, what should I do next Saturday night? You know what Deepak going to say? Meditate. Through meditation, you can become that revealer of truth. I'm talking about truth with a capital T because we believe that truth can be revealed to anyone. And one way to receive that truth is to be still. Now, I also practice the pause myself. I practice mindfulness. What I find is that sometimes I am absolutely holding my breath. So I have a watch. I don't have it on today, but I have a watch. And sometimes I'm just going about my business. I'm interacting on the thing. And all of a sudden, I'll feel this zap on my wrist. I'll look at it. It looks like a big old blue spiral graph. And it says, breathe. And in my mind, it goes, breathe, Mignonne, breathe. And I don't even realize that I am holding my breath. So it's not that technology is good or bad. It's a tool, and it's how you use it. So I'm really glad to have this little reminder because it reminds me to check in with myself, to come back fully present into the space that I am. It reminds me to connect with the people around me, and it reminds me to connect with Source. I have disconnected because I am holding my breath. And the number one way to combat a wandering mind is mindfulness. Be here now. Be here now. That is the biggest gift. So Polonius, he said, when he was talking about spirit and flow and how you might think about it, he said, you know what, in a meditation, think about spirit like this. So just take a breath. Say, let your heart and mind Release all that disturbs you. Let your body be still and all that surrounds it. Let the earth and the sea and the air be still, and heaven itself. Think of spirit as streaming, pouring, rushing, shining into you, shining through you and out from you in all directions as you sit in the quiet. The benefits of meditation: mental clarity, they control your thoughts, and you have a conscious interaction with spirit. The final practice, absolute final practice, is basic. It's basic. It's paper and pen. It's journal. It's journal, gratitude, travel, dream, write a letter to yourself, write a letter to God. And if you're in the advanced course, do Julia Cameron's Morning Pages. That's 3 pages of unedited stream of conscious writing. No judgment, no check for grammar, just let it out. And they say it brings you face to face with yourself. I've done it before. And people have told me, they said, stop doing your morning pages in like leather-bound papers. Like, just get some papers because these need to go out. So it gives you a deeper understanding with oneness. Julia Cameron herself says it's like taking a dust buster and poking it in the corners of your consciousness. You're clearing up some energy. And you know why you're clearing up energy? First thing in the morning like that, you're clearing up the energy so that you'll be free to create, so that you'll have a heightened awareness of things throughout the day. You are clearing up energy. So, I just said that this pen right here, this pen, standing for all pens that are, and all pencils. This pen is a tool. This pen is powerful. This pen is transformative. Is this pen magic? I don't know. You're quick to say it's not magic. I am going to take this clear bottle right here, and I'm going to take this pen and put it in the bottle. And then let's see if we can make this pen defy gravity. First thing is just got to check in. Oh my God, there it is. It's defying gravity. You see that, Reverend George? You know what? All right, hold on. See, it's just a regular pen. I could just give it to Reverend George. She could check it out. Make sure it's all good. You believe me? Okay. So it's just a regular old pen, right? It is not magical. But you know what? This pen is governed by laws. This pen is governed by laws of the universe, just like you and I. Now, the laws that it was governed with are physics, but it's laws nonetheless. So Ernest Holmes used to start he used to start many of his speeches with this phrase. He used to say, there's a force for good in the universe, and you can use it. There is a force for good. It is not magic. And as we bring God into our daily lives, as we bring God into our awareness, this force creates miracles. This force feels magical, and your life unfolds with miracles. So, magic, mind, miracles. Let's take this message into prayer. I know that there is only one power and one presence in the universe. And that power and that presence is a presence that is love. It is peace. It is wholeness. And I am one with that. And so is each and every person here. And I speak my word right here and right now, that wholeness, health, healing, abundance, joy just runs rampant throughout this community. And I am so grateful and so thankful, so grateful that the universe, that infinite intelligence knows way more than us, and that infinite intelligence could see this moment long before I could. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for blessing me. Thank you for blessing this community. And we release this word into the law, and so it is.